Hello, children of the night, and welcome back to the Unqualified Film Bros podcast, where we are reviewing the third rendition of Nosferatu, also known as Dracula in terms of story. But uh, I have seen all of them. I don't know how. Did you watch the originals? I know Max watched the original.
I did, yeah.
George, F on homework.
Did not do the homework for this one.
Yeah, I gotta have to give you an F for that one.
Aw,
As long as you know the basic story of Dracula, I feel
I
like
I do.
Yeah.
you'll be okay. This has some,
With the Stoker source.
yeah, this has some references to the style, of German expressionism and the way they styled the vampire in Nosferatu. But Eggers is definitely making his own artistic choices. So
Mhm.
I'll start with you, Max, since you saw the original. What did you think of the
Uh,
2024 version?
I loved it. I mean, one, it was absolutely gorgeous, camera work, and you know, I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point more in detail. But like, also just the practical effects and the body work that Lily Rose Depp did,
Mhm.
was quite striking, actually. I mean, really, really impressive. And I think uh, Thomas Hutter, Nicholas Holt kind of captured a lot of the facial expressions that I remember in the original, just the abject horror and dread.
Mhm.
Um, and, you know, I think he played that perfectly too.
Um, so, George, what do you think? Since you have not seen the original.
I would like to see the original. This film, seeing the 2024 version and appreciating the artistry of it. Um, I would like to see what a 1922 silent film version of this story would have been. So it at least this at the very least piqued my interest in the original, and I will put it on my watch list and I will watch it.
It's on YouTube, I think. Pretty sure it's public domain at this point.
That's how I watched it. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. It's 103 years old at this point.
Well, it was also kind of sued into oblivion by the Stoker estate. That's why it's Nosferatu and their Count Orlok and everything.
Mhm.
Um,
Like
yeah,
it's Dracula, but we're not calling him Dracula.
I believe the original actually was Dracula with all the original names, and they changed it after, lawsuits came. I think they still got sued anyway, but um, the director, he was Jewish. He left Germany and went to America because rise of Nazism, things like that.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, it's essentially just it's Dracula, but with the German expressionist movement, and that's kind of like key to Eggers. He's done the Lighthouse. That is pretty much that's more German expressionist than probably this version of Nosferatu in terms of style. This one is it's an interesting blend. It clearly has some of the influences of, different lighting and all the shadows and things like that. Um, but it definitely has much more of like a gothic feel, if that makes sense.
Very
Um, More reminiscent in some ways to, the old Dracula film with Bela Lugosi. Um, and then you have Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok with his crazy prosthetics. He does an amazing job.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, everyone's doing great, but he honestly he transformed.
firm disagree on everyone doing great.
Who didn't do?
Straight up, this is the worst performance of Aaron Taylor Johnson's career.
Oh,
He
you know what?
was atrocious, and we did Craven 2 weeks ago. He was worse here than he was
He
in.
was better in this than he was in Craven. Come
Oh,
on. Come on
No,
now.
that's
bullshit.
stupid.
He
Come
was
on.
so bad in this.
I thought he was pretty good. There were a few lines that I didn't like the
Every line delivered was just either phoning it in or deliberately trying to sabotage the film. I love Aaron Taylor Johnson. This was a
I don't know,
huge
sabotage
disappointment in
the
theaters.
film.
oh my God. All right. I don't, yeah, I don't know how to respond to that. That's pretty. I'm not really sure what you're getting at there because like most of the stuff is a little bit ridiculous in a sense, um, and especially his character is
Dialed that
supposed
up
to
to
be.
11 for sure.
I think he dialed it up to 11 when he committed necrophilia.
Yeah.
Unnecessary.
I would argue that that is 11.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know. I just every line he said completely took me out of the film.
I don't know. I'm going to disagree with you. Um, yeah, I still think everyone did fantastic. Um, I mean, the style and the ridiculousness is pretty apparent in some of them. He's supposed to be the foil to oh God, what's his name in this? Van Helsing, Willem Dafoe's character.
Hmm.
One
Where
Franz.
Willem, yeah, God, it doesn't really roll off the tongue. Um, he's I mean, a little bit insane, but he's right, and he actually sort of saves the day.
He
Where,
is the best part of this movie.
but yeah, I mean,
Love Willem Dafoe here.
yeah, I don't know. I think the performance is fine, but I do want to move on more to the well, there's a few things. The music I thought was pretty amazing. Music, obviously, for silent films was very important. The original score is haunting. It's wonderful. This one is it has some semblance of like haunting at points, but it's also very like fantastical, um, almost like a perverted fairy tale.
That's what the story really is, so it works really nicely. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess I shouldn't say perverted fairy tales because fairy tales are meant to be perverted anyway. The originals, at least. Um,
Not the Disney-fied versions.
yeah, so I guess I should just say it's like a old school fairy
Brothers
tale.
Grimm type.
Um, and that complements the cinematography at points, like when he's going to the Orlok Castle. It's very much like haunting, but also very beautiful.
One thing that I really appreciate about Eggers as an artist, and I think I talked about this when we did The Northman a couple of years ago, but it's certainly something I noticed a lot here, is he's very deliberate with movement, camera movement. Um, it was probably most apparent in the scene where Thomas Hutter is going to the Orlok Castle for the first time. He's in the forest on that path, and you can feel with the shadows and the music building, you can feel the dread. Um, and he's got a lot of static shots, center frame for the actor and for the carriage approaching him. And every so often, very deliberately, he'll be on an actor or on the carriage, and then he'll pan very slowly around to the other side. But it's just so, it works so perfectly for playing up the tension of every single moment that he does it, that it elevates every moment. And it's so deliberate, it's so perfectly chosen when to do something like that, that it plays up the horror, it plays up the fear. It really works.
But I think it also blends with. I mean, most times he's doing these like. In this case, it's like a nightmare, right? So he's showing sort of he's trying to evoke those same emotions from the audience, and I think he does do a really good job. Instead of relying on dialogue and things like that, he really does show the horror. And he's done that in everything. I think the lighthouse has a lot of those shots where it's you know pretty much discombobulating.
One thing that I sort of felt about how he does the horror in this film, and I have read that my opinion on this is backed up by plenty in the online community. A lot of the jump scares are telegraphed. You know they're
Mhm.
coming. And for someone who's not a fan of jump scares, I appreciated that because I could sort of get the sense of, oh, this is coming now. I'm prepared for it. And that sort of helped me as a non-horror guy. Um,
Yeah.
Especially like that first one, 2 or 3 minutes in the opening sequence, when she's a child summoning him for the first time, and you got this long shot of the young Lily Rose Depp's younger character. I don't remember the actress's name. And then there's a high music strike as the shot cuts to this grotesque, horrifying Count Orlok. But it's like you know it's coming, so it's scary. It's all right. But yeah, a lot of the jump scares were kind of telegraphed, and that made some of the horror a little bit more palatable, at least for
Yeah, I
me.
mean, I don't think this is much going for like. I mean, jump scares are like a new school horror thing. I mean, they existed, but that's more like a reliance on the. They're more just supposed to be like the climax of the thrill, right?
Yeah,
So he does a good job building up the tension, and then I mean that's why it's telegraphed. That's what it should be.
yeah,
Um, and there's not really fake outs or things that you do in modern more horror movies. Um, yeah, and that fits with essentially, uh, the original book and the original version in 1922. Um, Sorry, there's noise, very distracting. Um, Max, more thoughts?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we touched on a lot of like the whoa.
The disaster over here.
anything can happen
Disaster.
on a live show, folks.
That's all right. We had a mouse last week, so
Remember that?
yeah. I did
Oh, that's
find him.
right.
I did
Yes.
find him.
Found him?
Yeah.
Did
So what? Huh?
did he teach you how to cook?
That's a
No,
rat.
That's a rat, yeah.
no, it's a rat. It's a rat. Talentless mouse.
Stuart
There are
Little.
Uh,
lots of rats in this movie.
yeah,
Uh,
lots of rats.
Oh my God, that scene at the end. 1,000 live rats and Willem Dafoe.
yeah.
He
I
loved
was
it.
waiting because I had read about that scene just when I was reading about the production, and I was waiting the entire movie. When are we going to get to see it? When are we going to get to see it? And then it's just so perfect.
He said he loved it.
Yeah, he's a weird dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe is kind of perfect for Robert Eggers' movies. You know,
Yeah, he's perfect
he's
for
done
any
3 of them
weird.
now. Was he in The Witch? I haven't seen it,
No, no, he's not.
but he's
Mm-mm.
done Lighthouse, Northman, and now Nosferatu, and he's already signed
Mhm.
Yeah.
on to do his next two films.
Yes.
He is
So
also on record having said, I will do anything with Robert Eggers. So
yeah,
they are
Eggers has found his
easily
muse in a
even.
69-year-old man.
It really lets him act
Yeah.
to be his crazy
It's to
self.
be an absolute menace,
Um,
and he's the best part of this movie.
yeah, at least one of them. I love Bill Skarsgård. I thought
Mm.
he was so good. Um, Not just wearing prosthetics, but completely transforming his mannerisms and the
I
way he
mean,
spoke and
yeah,
things.
he trained with like a vocal coach so he could basically sing the lines.
It's quite awesome.
Yeah.
Um, and I do like that, even though it's not a silent film, it retains that like feeling of just it's much more visual than it is anything else.
Very visual.
Aside from the great performance from pretty much all the cast, other than I guess Aaron Taylor Johnson and George.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you for acknowledging my feelings.
the the cinematography. Can you hear that?
The noise
No,
in your room? No.
no. Mm-mm.
Okay. All right, just making sure. The cinematography is kind of, one of the things that German expressionism is known for, as is Robert Eggers. Um, it is extremely smart in the way that it presents things. I think he used light unbelievably well. He's definitely using those overhead like blue lights
The
at
use
some
of
parts.
the use of light and shadow here is pretty strong, I will agree. But I'm gonna draw a comparison with The Northman and say that a lot of this movie was just too dark.
But it's supposed to be, right?
It's
These are
supposed to
like,
be, but like there were scenes where I couldn't even see what was going on the screen.
but that's what fear is.
Yeah, but that's like I would agree with you if that was not intentional, but those are very clearly intentional choices that he made.
Fair enough.
I mean, you can look at how varied all the scenes are lit and how light is bouncing off areas. It is completely intentional. So yeah, I disagree. That's the point. And it especially works with like the camera angles and things. Not only are you being confused by different camera angles, but you can't really see, and it's supposed to put you in the shoes of whoever the point of view is. It's that you are kind of experiencing the same perception that they do. You can't see everything. You don't know what's happening, um, which I think is kind of what makes the movie really good. They definitely amped up the sex in this one. The I guess graphicness of it. Um, yeah, what did you guys think of that choice, especially the ending?
And the
The
ending
ending
was
was crazy.
brutal but
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Okay.
Um,
I mean,
yeah, it was the way that it was presented, at least story wise and through the narrative, you knew pretty early on, knowing the source material and knowing what these characters' dynamic was, that that's where it was going. Um, but just the way then visually that it's presented was just so horrifyingly haunting and just so real. Like it was, the word I'm going to use is disgusting, but in a good way. Like it achieved a level of realism that I don't think I was expecting, and that was really quality. Like I couldn't. It's one of those scenes where you can't look away. I mean, you can't look away from any of the movie, but it was really just. It's like watching a car wreck. It was just so horrifying.
it was intimate.
Yeah.
And it really was, right? Like, yeah, it was intimate, and it had to be real for the sacrifice to be real.
Hmm. Um, and yeah, he he kind of kills her at the end. He's like so um, I don't know, hypnotized that he just completely not only kills himself but also kills her, which I don't
I
think
mean,
you
that was
could
that
do.
was the whole point of the sacrifice.
Yes, but
That's
it's
what
an interesting.
Hans told her was, look, you got to do this, and it's got to be
Well,
your choice, and you're gonna die,
And she kind of knew.
yeah,
but it'll save the rest of us.
no, no, but from Warlock's perspective is all I meant.
Okay.
It's the
Yeah,
affliction.
when he, because he notices the sunrise, and then she draws him back in, and it's almost compulsive, like he can't help but go back in.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting thing. And it's the beauty of the original story too, which is like, well, he makes slaves out of other people. He himself is a slave. Um, you know, prisoners of two different cages. Um, and also that he kind of, he's a vampire not only in blood but also in sex. That was one of the ideas. Um, so I think it's an interesting choice to really go all in on that. I could hear the people in my theater were like, "Oh my god!"
I got a
At
couple of,
some
I don't know
moments.
about oh my gods, but there were a couple of gasps
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
it's so in your face through that whole scene that it's just boggling of the mind.
yeah.
Mhm.
For Thomas at the end.
Yeah.
And
It,
Nicholas Hoult is another bright spot for me here because, like you said earlier, Ben, he really like you can see the dread and the horror in a lot of his expressions, which indicates a very, very strong performance, which he gives here. Um, but as one of our three leads here with Lily Rose Depp and Bill Skarsgård, we sort of see both sides of him from the jump, where he wants to rationalize everything just so that he can. I guess the rationalization is more Aaron Taylor Johnson's sphere, but what we get with Nicholas
Well,
Hoult is
they're foils.
I'm
Incentive.
going I'm going to this estate to sell a property for my job, and that will get me a promotion. And that's
mhm.
my motivation for the whole first act of the film. And then the second act, it's getting away, and the third act, it's saving everybody and his wife, if he can, which we
Yeah,
know he can't. So the character arc that we see here is really, really strong. It's probably, I would say, the clearest character arc of anyone in the film to me. But Holt's performance is really, really like he takes the material on the page and elevates it a lot through his performance. And again, it comes back to the expressions on the face. The the visuals of the film are made stronger from his reactions to it.
well, yeah. I think there's a lot of good physical acting. Um, I mean, we talked about Lily Rose Depp, and she does both
15 to
sort of.
20% of the movie is Lily Rose Depp just shaking.
Yeah, but she's got variety. It's like some of it's sensual, some of it's torturous, some of it's one and the same. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting performances. And then also like the time that Nicholas Hoult just has violent sex with her, it's like it's quite a performance. I mean, it does not really explain as much. It's much more of the emotional like events playing out. But yeah, I think he's definitely very strong. As I think everyone's really strong, but um, I'm so glad that it's not Harry Styles because apparently he was supposed to play this.
He was originally
Yeah.
cast in the role, yeah.
I would have
That
said it
would
would have been,
make this movie a lot worse.
yeah, it would have been really funny if he played Renfield again. But oh well.
Could have.
Yeah, Rent the God. What's that guy's name? Air Book or something. God, stupid German
Uh,
names.
what was his name? Max, look it up.
Okay. Do, do, do.
The fanatic, the cult fanatic.
Uh, well, yes,
He was
and the
very
boss.
physical in his
Fair knock.
knock.
Yeah. Simon
Knock.
Burn.
Canuck.
Canuck.
Yeah.
God.
You were
Yes.
close. You were close.
Who bit the head off the pigeon?
Yeah,
The
that
bird.
was like, hey, how'd they do that?
Movie magic.
Yeah.
He replaced the live pigeon with a fake
Me-
something.
Method acting. He actually just bit the head off of the pigeon.
Actually, just
Robert Eggers made him do it.
You're giving me two opposing ideas here.
Eggers said, if you don't do it, you're fired. And then he did it.
yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. That got gasped in my theater.
Yeah,
A lot of
everyone knew it
gasps,
was
a lot
coming,
of jumps.
but it's just like he goes in a few times and he's like, what's gonna happen? But yeah, I think the thrills are really good in this one. It's something
Certainly, it certainly leans a little bit more into the supernatural horror than something like The Northman. That was a little bit more grounded.
I I don't know how to respond to that. I don't think the
Just
Northman was very grounded.
the Northman had, well, yes, it's legend and Hamlet and all of that, but it, at least from what I recall, it was more grounded.
There were witches. Willem Dafoe was like yelling prophecies. I don't know, man. I guess there's no like specific vampires, but there is Bjork is a witch or seer, and then he rides off to Valhalla at the end. So I mean, I
That's
guess a little
that's more
bit,
mythic
but
than supernatural, but if you think the two are the same,
well, yeah,
I don't know.
all of his
Uh,
movies are pretty supernatural in some way. They're very allegorical, I guess, more than realistic. I mean, Nosferatu is based on Dracula, so that's not his story, but he still does it in a way that's very
well, the
it's
Northman
very clear it's supernatural, but
the Northman wasn't his story either. That was Hamlet.
that's still kind of his story.
Okay, it was based on The Lion King. How about that?
Look, man, I don't think anybody gave West Side Story shit for being Romeo and Juliet. I'm not. I'm not.
Buddy, for 60 years has given West Side Story shit for being Romeo and Juliet.
Who?
I don't know about giving it shit, but everyone's pointed it out like it's obvious.
Yeah, I know, but it would still say West Side Story is by someone else. It's it is a what do you call it?
Man.
A version. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. So
Adaptation. A loose adaptation.
adaptation. Yeah, yeah. Forgetting the word. Regardless, he's really good at thrills. Um,
And here's the part where I reveal that Robert Eggers is a friend of a friend, and I tried to get him for tonight's episode. Um, didn't work out, but uh, he he could have been here tonight. So hopefully for his next film we can set something up.
you know, I have no faith in you getting him if you haven't seen his favorite movie. So
Sorry.
you should have watched it and then tried to get him. Be like, I don't know, informed.
Thanks.
Hey, man, you haven't watched his biggest influences. That's the problem. You need to watch some German Expressionism, and then you need to watch some Ingmar Bergman.
Just send me
There
a
you
list.
go.
Send me a list.
All right. Well, I think we've kind of talked about Nosferatu. Um, there's a lot you could say, but it, for a lot of his films, I feel like you just need to experience it. And every time I go back to one of his films, it feels different. I feel like I get something here, or just something pops out. But and that's the power of the way that he does filmmaking, and it's something that I continue to espouse, which is like they're movies. They're not books. You don't have to just rely on showing story through people telling each other about stuff. exposition and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get a lot of story from just showing people, and also it leaves that room to go back and see it differently, like a painting.
So I have a question for each of you. First, Max, and then Ben. Max, what earned now with Ben and I having seen it since we did our top five episode, what what earned this movie its place in your top five?
Oh, um, it was just, I mean, it was stunning, right? Like I had watched the original like that morning before I went to go see Egger's version. And so it was like fresh in my mind a lot of the sort of the use of shadows and everything. And so that was what really caught my eye from the get-go. Like one of the opening shots with Lily Rose Depp walking like to the house. I was like, oh my God. And then I remember the shot with Orlok sort of in the curtain, like just the silhouette. He's not even, yeah. So like it just stuck in my mind, and it immediately kind of just jumped to the top five. Yeah.
And there are a
Ben,
lot of I realize there's he shoots Count Orlok always from like side portraits originally. Like you're not really seeing his full face; it's shadowy, but it's also like you're just seeing the side. You don't really get a good look at him.
it's a lot of profiles until he's actually revealed, and then it's all low angles. We're
Yeah.
looking up at him the entire rest of the film
Hmm.
because he's supposed to be this larger than life menacing figure.
Well, he's also supposed to represent power.
And he's also really
So,
tall.
well, yeah, but yeah, there's those things about power, wanting not Jonathan, Thomas, wanting money to pay back. He feels bad about that. This sort of interest thing. It's like a drain on society.
Yeah. So Ben, this was one of the films that you said that you missed out on 2024.
Yeah.
You just watched it last night at the beginning of 2025. Would it have placed, or would it have been an honorable mention? Would it
Yeah,
not have
yeah, it would
gone
have
in your top
placed.
five, 10?
It would have placed. I think it would have moved Kinds of Kindness because I like the movie, but yeah,
So it would have
it
slotted in at five for you?
I would probably move up. Oh man, it's tough. Maybe four
Okay, solid.
because I really do love. I mean, Dune. It's hard to move. My number. Wait, what was my number one?
Challengers.
Oh, right, Challengers. Yeah, it's hard to move those. Conclave, hard to move. So yeah, it'd have to slot in the four. But I don't know. I've only seen it once. Maybe if I see it more, it'll pop up. That's
It's a
typically what
bad
happens with the
Every great
movies.
movie you want to see a second time.
Well, it's just like I feel like I like them more every time I watch them. It's
I
truly
need to
incredible.
watch Challengers because I remember really liking it and I've only seen it the one time.
Yeah. Same here, actually.
Prime Video, pal.
I don't know where it's streaming. I do know that the original NOSFERATU is on YouTube, so I think we all enjoyed this. We all, even George, even though he doesn't like scary movies,
I I think
he
this is
enjoyed this.
I think this is an exceptionally well-made film. Not for me. I
Enjoyed.
I
All right.
thought it was great. Would not see it again. Did not give it a high rating on Letterboxd.
All right. So that's translation. He enjoyed the movie, guys. Um, go see it yourself. Go watch the original on YouTube. It's free. And I guess we'll see you next time. What are we doing? Bob Dylan?
Bob Dylan,
Yeah.
man.
Bobby Dylan. All
Yeah.
right. Well, we'll see you next week.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.